just want to know, what are you afraid of? Lots of things that I'm afraid of. Big problems, snakes. I really just even looking at pictures of them sends the quivers down my spine. I do not do well with snakes, and living in Arizona maybe is not the smartest of things to do when you don't like snakes, but nevertheless, there you have it. But more than that, everybody's afraid of some kind of predator. It's natural, biological. Those aren't the fears that we have to worry about. The fears that we have to worry about, the ones that are crippling, the ones that truly hinder us from life, are the fears of self, the fears of interactions with others, the fears of, say, failure. You know, it's always been important to me to succeed, and when success was not a sure thing, it's easier to walk away. Now, in battle strategy, sometimes that's the better viable option, and truly in life, sometimes that is the better option, but not always, and I would wager not frequently. Fear is, many tiered, many levels, and you have to understand that each of those levels is a greater degree of irrationality. Basic fears. When we're alive, we don't want to die, so fear of death is kind of number one. But then along with that, we consider, pain, discomfort, loss, tangible things that happen, and so we deal with fear of not only death, but loss and pain and whatnot. And that is the primal stuff. Now that, of course, extends to things like fear of certain predators, fear of storms, all of the things that can carry into, adult mental imbalances in the modern world, but yet have their root in our just primal architecture. But you have to understand that fear of pain, fear of loss, it's really fear of disappointment. It's frustrating not to succeed. It's frustrating and depressing not to win, not to gain. And so we do things to stave that off. And the two most common things are, some of us push harder and ensure our win. Some people to a degree where they don't follow the rules of whatever game they're playing. So be it. And then the rest of us have more the tactic of run away. Run away. How many things have you run away from, or not even started, not even faced in the first place, because you were afraid to fail, because you were afraid that you might look stupid, that you were afraid it might not work and that you would have wasted your time, whatever. Cliche warning. Every failure is an opportunity for education. Every failure is a moment of learning. And you have to understand that that is important, because I'll tell you, in martial arts, I am not a gifted learner. I learn quickly now. But you see, I had to learn by doing things wrong over and over and over again, and somebody telling me, no, that's wrong, no, that's wrong. And every time somebody says, no, that's wrong, there's like a little checkbox checked off in my brain that says, okay, don't do it that way again. Remember this feeling and understand that that's not where you want to be. Some people, the truly gifted learners, they find those balance points, they find those success points not only early, but their brains are able, their nervous systems are able to check off those success markers and say, this is the feeling that you want, remember this. I tell my students and my friends and my colleagues that if there's a range of things that work, it's this big. And the range of things that doesn't work is literally infinitely outside of the range of things that does work. And the reason I use terms like range is because, just because one person does it one way doesn't mean there's not another way to do it. There's always going to be a range of things that work depending on the individual, depending on the circumstances, whatever. And that's fine, but then there's a massive range of things that don't work. Generally speaking, you're not going to use a hammer to fix, a loose nut. It's not to say that it can't be done, but you have a loose nut, you generally grab a wrench, not a hammer, or a stone, or anything else. And that's the idea. There's a range of things that work and a range of things that don't. The problem is, we don't really know the full extent of the range of things that will work. But it's a much smaller range than the things that don't. I'm the type of person that has to experience a large range of things on either side of the things that do work. In that realm of things that don't work, I have to experience a large range on either side of that just to hone down what does work. My brain just works in the reverse direction sometimes. But the fact is that even in the realm of things that do work, just because it works for one person may not work for you. And that's okay. And this is not just martial arts. This could be business. This could be studying in school. This could be figuring out, any kind of problem solving or whatever. You have to understand that depending on the rules of the game, depending on what the circumstances are, you may find that the range of things that work is extraordinarily narrow and there's almost no room for individuality. And then other times the range of things that work is extraordinarily broad. Sometimes you just have to play and experiment. But that's where that fearlessness comes in. Because not only is failure an opportunity to learn, but you have to understand that failure is not absolute. We don't know that full range of absolutely everything that will work because it's so circumstantially dependent. And so you really have to sit there and experiment and play and experiment and play. And yeah, you have to risk failure. You have to risk not looking good. You have to risk doing something dumb sometimes, simply because everything else isn't working for you at the moment. And that's an important lesson to learn, because if you are too afraid to act, then you have allowed yourself to stop, kind of in that OODA loop that we talked about a few weeks ago. And you're just stuck in the early part of that loop, not being able to move on and get to the action portion. You're just stuck in observe and orient, observe and orient, observe and orient, because it's like your failure is an attack. Don't look at your failure as an attack. Look at your failure as a chance to, observe in and of itself. Break the loop there. But it's so incredibly important not to be afraid of those intangible things. So what if you look stupid for a minute? So what if people can make jokes about you? Do they matter? When you go to the grave, is that going to be the important thing in your life? That everybody laughed at you for a minute because you did something dumb, that you did something shocking, that you did something stupid, that you did something that people really didn't like? I'm pretty positive that unless you die in the moment of people mocking you and jeering at you, chances are that's not going to be the thing on your mind. The thing on your mind is going to be, I wish I had moved forward. I wish I had accomplished those things that I was trying to accomplish. If you always want to learn the violin, God damn it, go learn it. I bought a violin. You saw a video a while ago where I was screeching on it. I still suck horribly at it. Horribly. But I've got it. It's there for my fingers to twiddle and diddle and do their thing until I can kind of figure it out. Nobody says you have to perform for anybody. You really don't. If you're running a business, you might have to do things wrong in front of other people first because you don't have clients if you don't have an audience. But still, try something. If it's not working, change course and do something else. And keep doing that until you find something that clicks. Now, this isn't to say be impetuous and change something before it has a chance to work. Give something its due course. And you may not know what its due course is, but if you have a mentor, if you have some guidance, that will help you meet that out and figure out what you need to do. But understand that there is no surefire way to do anything. All you can do is pick an action and watch the response of your audience, your opponent, whatever it be. And if it's non-responsive, you have to change course, you have to change your action. But if it's minimally responsive, figure out what's making them respond. Hone in on that and adjust accordingly. Sometimes you need a complete overhaul, sometimes you need a micro adjustment. Sometimes you really need to play the waiting game. That's why it's helpful to have, mentors and teammates and partners. You have to understand you are an individual first, and you are in this on your own first and foremost. But we are also social creatures, and we have to depend on one another to a point for support, outside observation, and whatnot, so that we can get a little bit of perspective outside of our own limited ability, and that will help us grow and evolve. Which means that when you do make mistakes, whatever you're afraid of will be shared with others. And that's okay. First, it will definitely let you know who your friends are and who they're not. And that's an important lesson too. But you also have to understand that really, truly, as cliche as it is, failure is not final. It really is not. And you have to be able to move beyond that fear of failing, that fear of looking stupid, that fear of not being the it thing. So what? Do what you need to do, regardless. Get it done, and move on. If you made a mistake, learn from it, move on. It's never final until you quit breathing. Talk to you guys later. Good journey.